Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today is Saturday. It is May 10th, and we're going to be covering some races from Santa Anita. Now, Santa Anita has a pick six carryover there of 67,000, and lately it seems like when they have their carryovers, they end up getting some pretty good pulls in the pick six. But here's the kind of hidden gem there. They also get big pulls in their late pick five. Like, for example, last week, I think it was Sunday, they ended up having nearly $1 million pick five pull in the late pick five. So that's very, very healthy and definitely worth playing. So, I studied the races today and I could not come up with a pick six that was, affordable and seemed to be worth playing. So what I am going to play is the pick five, the late pick five, which does start in the fifth race today at Santa Anita. So let's go over to the fifth race at Santa Anita and get started. The fifth race has an approximate post time of 3:08 Pacific, so that's 5:08 here in the Central Time Zone. And we're starting out with the feature race. It's the stakes race of the day, the Siren Lure $100,000 race on the 6 furlong flat grass course. And they got a good bunch of sprinters signed on for this race. It's a short field. It's a 6-horse field, but I just think it's very competitive, and I think it's pretty wide open as well. So I'm going to put 4 horses in here to get this pick 5 started. I'm going to put the 2, who is Final Boss, John Sadler. Sadler has got a couple in this race, so I'm wondering if he put a couple in to get this race filled. I don't know, but Final Boss, trained by Sadler, ridden by Juan Hernandez. This horse is coming off a pretty long layoff. Last time we saw this horse, he was in the 3-year-old stakes races there last year in Southern California, running at Santa Anita with a nice record of 3 wins and 6 starts, running at different distances. And then he tried, the a little longer stakes races, the Cinema. He ended up winning over at Santa Anita, and then went over to Del Mar, ran in the La Jolla. So this horse certainly can run off a layoff. And, I've said this many times, I don't mind a horse going into a turf sprint off a layoff. I think the good trainers know what they're doing, and they certainly can get these horses ready. So at 5-1, I think the 2-horse Final Boss is live. I'm going to put the 3 as well, Air Force Red for Leonard Powell, Armando Ayuso. Now, this horse certainly has a class advantage over all of these. This horse has been running in a graded stakes competition there at Santa Anita. This horse has a nice record at Santa Anita on the grass with 6 wins from 19 starts, 2 seconds and 2/3. Interestingly enough, though, this horse really hasn't done much work on this flat sprint grass course. When this horse has sprinted at Santa Anita, he's done it primarily down the hill. So, we know there's a difference between the down the hill races and the flat turf sprints. Certainly a difference in how they run and what to look for. But, Air Force Red certainly is a nice horse, accomplished horse, has done very good work over the last couple of years. 5-2, certainly worth that. So we'll put Air Force Red in there. This horse, being by Air Force Blue. Now, Johnny Dimes, I don't know if you're watching today, but I know you love those Air Force Blues. This might be a one for you here with the 3-horse Air Force Red. I'm going to also put the 4-horse, who is Bran for John Sadler. As I mentioned, Sadler's got a couple in today in this race. This horse is 9-5 program favorite. Now, he's done some nice work on the sprints, in Southern California, traveled elsewhere, also ran at Kentucky Downs with a win, ran at Churchill Downs back in 22. Now, this horse, his good work has really been a couple years back. So Sadler's bringing this horse off a layoff, and this horse has had about a 10-month layoff. So as I mentioned, I'm not worried when a good trainer brings a horse off a layoff into a turf sprint. Usually they're fine. So Brand certainly merits a chance. He's got the favoritism here at 9-5 in the program. So we'll put the 4 Brand. Then I'm going to also put the 6-horse, who is Lovesick Blues, Librato Braccio, Giovanni Franco. We saw Franco with a couple of nice winners yesterday, so Franco's certainly heating up. Franco's been on this horse the last couple times. He's run down the hill in sprints, ran up against Air Force Red, came second to that horse, so certainly no shame in there. He was a big price that day, but certainly ran a big race. And then ended up running second to Lonesome Stew, who Lonesome Stew is certainly a sharp horse right now in Southern California. Has won, run off a nice win streak and some very big races. So, we'll put Lovesick Blues at 4-1. We'll see if this horse might be live here. Has done some good work, as I mentioned, in the Southern California sprint ranks. All right, now let's move over to the next race of the day. Next race being the 6th race. This is a maiden special weight, 6.5 on the dirt. These are 3-year-olds and up, and some very nice purchase prices, some expensive horses here in this race. I narrowed it down to the 2 Baffert horses. I'm going to put the 3 Sierra Silver Bob Baffert, Juan Hernandez. This horse is 9-5 in the program. Now, last time this horse had run first time out, running up in a very live race, turned out to be. Got beat by Goal Oriented, who was a stablemate. Goal Oriented ended up winning on the Churchill Downs undercard on Derby Day last week. And word has it that they're going to be putting Goal Oriented in the Preakness, so they must think really, really highly of that horse to be moving him into a Grade 1 two-turn race. So Sierra Silver, ran third to Goal Oriented, and then Train the Trainer ended up running second in that race. Now, Train the Trainer went over to Aqueduct and broke his maiden in a very nice race there in the slop. So Train the Trainer is a nice horse too. So looks to me like this is a very live race that Sierra Silver comes out of. The horse ended up having maybe kind of a below average start, rushed up, took the lead, fought with Train the Trainer, who, as I mentioned, is a nice horse, and then Goal Oriented swept by and beat them all. So nice race there. Certainly merits the 9-5 favoritism, and we'll see if Juan Hernandez gets this horse out on top and goes. And I'm just going to put the other Baffert horse as well, being the 6-horse Southern Gentleman. Van Dyke takes the call here. So, Drayden Van Dyke, in the past, he's run sparingly for Baffert that I can recall. Van Dyke back in California, so we'll see what he does there. I know that he's had, some problems or issues, something like that. I don't know. He left California, went to Florida, did some great work in Florida, and now he's back. So Baffert's putting him on a nice horse here. This horse, a $725,000 purchase price horse. So, certainly quality here. Showing some nice workouts. Now, it looks to me like possibly the 3 and the 6 have worked out together a couple times. So, Southern Gentleman, 4-1. How many times have we seen the Baffert higher price beat the lower price? So, we'll take a shot here with the 2 Bafferts and seeing if that might happen. So, we'll put the 3 and the 6 here. All right, let's move over to the 7th race of the day. 7th race is a 6-furlong flat grass sprint. And these are $32,000 claimers, 3-year-olds and up. And basically what it boils down to is a non-winner of 2 races. So in this 7th race, I do have a single. I think it's just a very lightly talented field. And I think the 9-horse, trained by Carla Gaines, Lovin' on the Run, Hector Barrios. This horse is 9-5. I'm going to single Lovin' on the Run. I think that she's really just caught a very light field here. They're dropping this horse into 32,000 claiming. She had been running with first level allowance horses and some very nice ones at that. I mean, she ran with Queen Maxima, Queen Maxima is the best, turf filly sprinter in Southern California, and maybe, in the country, who knows? She ended up running a big race over in the Churchill Downs undercard last week too. So Queen Maxima, big time horse. She ran with her back in towards the start of the Santa Anita meet back in December. Ran pretty evenly, not a bad race there. Also ran with Venganza. Venganza, rattled off a couple wins. Venganza was a sharp horse too this past winter, spring. So, ran a kind of an even race with Venganza and Miss Roberts. Miss Roberts came back to win. So that was a very live race there. And then ran last time with Run a Mile in My Shoes, who's certainly a hard-knocking horse. Has been running on the Southern California circuit for a while. So I just think Lovin' on the Run has caught a very light field here. As I mentioned, there's certainly throwouts that you just I don't feel have any chance. So I'm just going to make this a single here with the 9-horse Lovin' on the Run. All right, now let's move over to the next race of the day. Next race being the 8th race. This is one of those Northern California style races. Is $5,000 claiming race. So this horse, this race is for horses based in Northern California, or if they've started for 62.50 or less in their last couple starts. So we've seen this condition, run many times here now. This is 5.5 furlongs on the dirt, and competitive field, which these have been, and they've been kind of nice betting races, as they've been putting these level races out there. So I'm going to put 4 horses in here. I feel one of these horses should get this pick 5 advanced. I'm going to put the 3 my bucket list. Antonio Garcia claimed this horse off of Manuel Badia for the Battleborn Racing Stable. Now, Garcia off to claim, it certainly is a good proposition. Garcia's barn has done much better lately, and, he's certainly a capable trainer. This horse has been running at this level the last few times and running competitively, so this horse seems to be in shape. 3-1, Tiago Pereira. My only question is being towards the inside. Horse might get a rough trip, so, kind of beware on this horse. I certainly wouldn't single him or make a win bet. I'm also going to put the 7-horse being Divine Rascal. Gennaro Vallejo trainer, Billy Anton Giorgi, the jock here. Now, Anton Giorgi's definitely, won his share of these type of races. And, this horse has run, a couple nice races. His last two, I thought, have been very, productive here. He ended up getting a win at a big price in a little bit better race in a starter allowance. And ended up winning at 15-1. And, follow that up with a race that was just kind of even at this very level. The horse got bet down, ended up getting beaten by a couple of these. But I felt like this horse had some legit excuses, had a rough ride, and, kind of a rough trip. The apprentice there that day gave this horse way too much to do. And, you really can't do that with horses at this level. You've got to just try and stay out of their way. And, stay out of their way and just, let them run. Don't give them too much to do because they're probably not going to win if you give them a lot of work to do during a race. So this horse is 7-2, certainly worthwhile here. And I'm going to put the 10 horse being Bobby's Alibi. Bobby's Alibi, trained by Sally Rivera and ridden by Hugo Herrera. This horse is 8-1 in the program. I think that this horse has a really legit chance here as a long shot here. This horse had run with a little bit better recently, and we've seen sometimes when those horses have dropped down into this 5 category, they really move up. So I think Bobby's Alibi kind of fits that profile. I like the outside position. This horse can get out, kind of watch the race, unfold inside of him. And get a nice stalking trip and finish up. So at 8-1, Bobby's Alibi, certainly a dangerous horse here. That's being the 10 horse. And then finally, I'm going to put the 11 horse, who is Big Don Smiling. Big Don Smiling for Bill McLean, puts Kazushi Kimura on the horse. Now, I'm pretty sure I bet this horse last time. This horse disappointed me. Kimura has been on this horse the last couple times. This horse, had been running in the starter allowance level this past winter, spring over at Santa Anita in these Northern California style races. Running just, some even races here. Last time they did drop this horse into this 5 level, which I think, was the reason why it caught my attention. Kimura, I don't know, just kind of gave this horse an even ride. So I'm going to give this horse one more shot here. He's 6-1 today. And, we'll see. If this horse, can't do it here today, then this horse probably just, is not much of a runner anymore. So in the pick 5, we're going to put the 3, 7, 10, and 11. All right, now let's go to the last race of the day. Last race of the day being the 9th race. This is a 6-furlong dirt event. And this is one of the restricted maiden races. Now, this is the fillies and mares 3 and up. And it's one of those races these are for horses that have sold at auction for $150,000 or less. Or if you want to put your horse in for $62,500, you can qualify that way. So, just kind of freezing out the big purchase prices and giving folks a chance to break their maiden without having to run and claiming. So, interesting race. Some first starters signed up here. Some horses have been running. I got 4 horses here. Hoping we have a live ticket here. We've got 4 horses in coverage. I feel like one of these 4 will get it done. I don't think that it's as simple as putting in the favorite. I do have the favorite. We'll talk about him momentarily. But I think that, the race is a little more open than that. I'm going to start out with the 4 horse. It was Insolenta, Mike Pipey, Tiago Pereira. Now, this horse has had 2 starts, and they both have been on the turf. And, just kind of even starts. Ran with certainly better than I think with what he's running with, or what she's running with today. And, it's one of those things where I don't know if Pipey was planning on running this horse on the turf, or it's just the races that came up, and, you put them where they're being written. So I don't know. I kind of wonder about that. But, the horse certainly can run on dirt, certainly bred for that, has worked out nicely. And, maybe at 6-1 here, the move over to the dirt, blinkers are off, so a couple changes there. This horse could be a live horse here at 6-1 with Tiago Pereira. I'm going to also put the 5 horse, who is Don't Tell Our Wives, Leonard Powell, Juan Hernandez. This horse has been running at this level and running some good races. Hernandez takes the call here. Abel Lascano has been riding this horse. And, nothing against Abel Lascano and the rides he's put on. I think maybe Hernandez could improve this horse. We seem to be the case when some of these top jocks get on horses first time. They move these horses up a few lengths. So, Don't Tell Our Wives is 4-1. Last time out, this horse did run with the favorite, being Nicolina. And I thought both horses ran very nice races and pretty close to each other. So I feel like if you like the favorite Nicolina, you probably got to put the 5, Don't Tell Our Wives, in there too, just based on what they did with each other last time. There was really just kind of nip and tuck between them. So I think Don't Tell Our Wives looks like, she fits in this level. She's been running, as I mentioned, running well. I think maybe the switch to Juan Hernandez could make a difference here. So we'll put the 5, Don't Tell Our Wives. Going to also put the 7 horse. The 7 horse being Moonlit Courage. for the Richard Mandela barn, Kazushi Kimura. Now we know, they make a nice team. They've won some nice races. They won a really nice race last week over in Kentucky with Kopion. Very nice horse. So, Mandela certainly has a lot of trust in Kimura. Now this horse had run one time, one start on the turf, and, kind of like the four horse. I wonder if, Mandela really wanted to run on the turf with this horse. It seemed like maybe this horse might be more of a dirt type of horse. But, again, you just run them where the races are carded, and sometimes they have to run on surfaces they may not ideally want. So I'm going to give this horse a pass last time. This horse kind of, fought a little bit for the lead that day and running in a, pretty good race there and on the turf there at 6 furlongs. I thought, that ended up being a nice race that day. So, she, went out towards the lead and ran for a little while and then just backed off. So it makes me think that this horse, like I said, just wanted to get a run over the track, and then maybe, put it to her surface that she might prefer, being the dirt. So at 8-1, Moonlit Courage certainly merits here. And then finally, I am going to put the 9 horse, who is Nicolina, who is the favorite at 8-5. Phil D'Amato, trainer, Antonio Fresu takes the call. And this horse has had 2 starts over the dirt. Change here is that Thiago Pereira was riding this horse before. They switched to, Antonio Fresu. We'll see if that makes a difference. This horse certainly ran with better in her first start. She ran with, in a very live maiden race, won by Formula Rosa. And brilliantly ended up coming second there. Nicolina was third and brilliantly came back to win, breaking her maiden. They ended up moving Nicolina into this level in her next start, and she ran a good race. She was 3-5 that day. As I mentioned, she ended up running up with Don't Tell Our Wives. They both ran very nicely that day. Nicolina being second, Don't Tell Our Wives being third. So I'm going to put them both in there. 8-5, certainly a short price. We'll see how much shorter this horse gets bet down. But, and as far as pick 5 purposes, we will have the 4, 5, 7, and 9. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the tickets. Okay, so to recap the day for Saturday, May 10th. We have a pick 5 ticket that starts in the 5th race. Apologize for those technical difficulties. So let's recap the day and recap the tickets. So for Saturday, May 10th, we have a pick 5, which starts in the 5th race. Starting out with the 2, 3, 4, 6, with the 3, 6, with the 9, with the 3, 7, 10, 11, with the 4, 5, 7, 9. Now that pick 5 ticket today costs $64. So if you see fit, you can play it as is. If you want to use these picks, add or subtract to make your own ticket, or if you want to use these to maybe play that pick 6 carryover, I wish you the best of luck today. Maybe you want to play the pick 3s or pick 4 within it. That late pick 3 has been very nice, as well as that $3 turf pick 3. So whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing. And, again, I really appreciate you watching and listening to the picks over at Fast Horses today. You can like, dislike, make comments. I promise to respond to everything. Please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. It'll put you on the feed when new content's created. It gets served up to you. Thanks to everybody who has done that. Let's make this a great day at Santa Anita, the great race place, and we'll see you back tomorrow for more coverage. Thank you.